Final topic we're going to touch on here is Albert Pujols. Of course, signed his huge 10-year, $240 million deal in the offseason along with C.J. Wilson to the Angels. So by acquiring Albert Pujols, do you love that or leave that the Los Angeles Angels are the winners of off-season free agency?
I'm going to say I'm loving it. I think they're going to challenge Texas for the AL West now. And Pujols, obviously, 11 seasons, 42 home run average per season, future Hall of Famer, potentially one of the greatest players of his generation. That's going to make a lot of sense over at the Angels.
I think right about now, Pujols drops off a little bit, but for him, that's still a great thing to do. We're going to cut to commercial break, I believe, now. UWL promo.
Fact: University of Wisconsin Lacrosse is ranked the #2 college in the Midwest.
UW Lacrosse is ranked number 34 for out-of-state students among public universities nationwide.
UW Lacrosse is ranked as one of the most military-friendly schools in the nation.
UW Lacrosse is number 24 among medium colleges and universities for Peace Corps volunteers.
Welcome back. We're going to be talking a little Big Ten basketball. First off, we have 5 teams in the top 25 as far as Big Ten basketball is going. Who are your favorite teams?
Right now, I love Michigan State. Tom Izzo is doing fantastic with his team. They're ranked number 6 right now. They just had a huge upset win over Ohio State, who was ranked 3 at the time. And I'm also loving Indiana. They're the only team right now that has beaten Kentucky. So their Big Ten basketball is looking pretty solid.
Yeah, the Big Ten looks great right now. They're leading the nation in RPI, and they lead all conferences. They've got 5 teams with 20 or more wins. You know, it's not just Michigan State and Ohio State. They're the noticeable ones up at the top, but through almost the entire conference, these teams are really playing well this season.
Definitely. I think a lot of them have been coming on strong as of late. Michigan, definitely, with Hardaway Jr., and you got to love Jared Sullinger no matter what. He's just a beast, so I think you have to pick them. They're in one of my favorites, actually, this year.
Yeah, and you know, the knock on the Big Ten Conference most often is that it's a boring brand of basketball. You know, there's not a lot of flash, but, you know, if it gets the job done, it gets the job done. And another stat that tells you about that the Big Ten has the best overall ranking for turnover ratio. They've got the top team is Purdue in the country, only 8 turnovers per game. Wisconsin's right behind them with 9. What are you guys looking at now for the March Madness tournament? How's the Big Ten going to pan out there?
I think all Big Tens are going to represent at least for the first few rounds, and I think going deep is definitely Michigan State and Ohio State. So
I have Michigan State going very deep. I also like Murray State as a dark horse. They only have 1 loss this season. I know it's a little bit of a shakier conference over there, but it's still a good nod to look at them.
Absolutely. And as we talk about teams competing in March Madness, we might as well cut to the good stuff, right? Give me right now, guys, your final 4 teams in March Madness.
I got Kentucky, Missouri, Michigan State, and then I'd like to say Murray State.
What's your thoughts behind that?
Missouri is always solid. You know, they're 25-2 right now. Kentucky, I really don't think anyone's going to stop them right now. I think they're the team to beat in the country. And Michigan State, down the stretch, is always solid come tournament time.
I am not a huge fan of Missouri. I do like Kentucky as well. They just got a bunch of freshmen that can just straight ball. Syracuse has a lot of depth. They've had people coming off the bench scoring 20 a night. I like North Carolina. I think they're going to ride Harrison Barnes all the way. I think he steps up and really improves his draft stock as well. And then finally I have Kansas. They've beaten Baylor twice, and they've also beaten Ohio State. So
yeah, Ben, Syracuse is the deepest squad in the nation right now. They don't really have a superstar guy, but they have a lot of people contributing. C.J. Fair's doing a good job for them. Kentucky, if Anthony Davis can stay out of foul trouble, Drew White told me they're going to make a run. So, interesting there. And I'm also going with Michigan State because of Tom Izzo, and Duke with Coach K. Of course, the players make a difference too, but coaching's big in college basketball. And as we talk about basketball, we're going to move a little bit to a smaller scale and hone in on UWL. Ben, what do you got to tell us about UWL basketball?
Yeah, our UWL Eagles here the men's basketball team beat Superior Saturday night 65-64 in a must-win game. This gave them the 5th seed in the WEAC tournament coming up, and they have to take on Platteville, who they have lost to twice this season, but by a total of 10 points. Both have been squeakers coming down to the wire, and if you haven't seen it yet, Al Cherry, monster dunk, going viral all over YouTube. He's sick. Had the dunk of the year. Insane.
Well, that's good news. I mean, it's always cool. I know I heard UWL basketball was up and down at times this season, but it's always good. Once you get in that tournament, you never know what can happen.
Yep.
So
that game is tomorrow night, by the way.
Very good stuff. UWL making a run. That brings us to the end of our topics. It's now time for our own FaceTime. And with the NBA All-Star break coming up, I can't help but still remember about the Pro Bowl. It was disappointing. I understand why these all-star players don't want to risk injuries that could either end their career or shorten it, but come on, that game out there was insulting. I read an interesting article by Vic Ketchman, a contributor to Packers.com, who brought up this idea, a bit of a futures game in the Pro Bowl where all your Pro Bowl players get to attend, they go to Hawaii, they interact with fans, and they sit on the sidelines, but the game itself is comprised of 5 to 6 players from each team, which are either buried deep on the depth chart or on the practice squad. This would work essentially as a very first preseason game, giving these young guys a chance to get out on the field and prove their worth for next season. I think it would be a competitive game. These guys aren't worried about getting injured and ruining their careers. They're worried about playing, getting noticed, and starting their careers. Revamp the Pro Bowl. I'm sick of it.
That definitely is a good idea. I would think, or mine's a lot like yours. It's more about the NBA, though, All-Star Game, and actually it's complete opposite. You want the no-namers to maybe come out and get a little time. I think right now the NBA, as far as like the slam dunk contest, they have people that no one really knows and aren't really attracting a crowd at all. And I think they need to go back to like when they had Jordan competing, Dr. J and Dominique Wilkins. They all wanted to just win it, and they wanted to know that they were the best at it. Now it doesn't really seem like anyone cares. So bring back the big names and maybe get some incentives or something for them like that. So what about you?
I agree. But I'm going to go with a NASCAR shout-out. I know a lot of people think maybe it's just a southern sport, a redneck sport, but I'm giving the shout-out to the Daytona 500 this Sunday. Last year's champion, Tony Stewart, won. Last year's Tony Stewart was the champion of the whole event, and Trevor Bayne was the one who won the race actually last year. It's a sport with a lot of tradition, a lot of history, and it's actually a lot of fun to watch. At least catch the last 10 laps. That's my shout-out.
Yeah, you know, in NASCAR, it's a little different. I'm not quite sure if it's a sport or not, but you got to admit they do a great job marketing themselves. They do absolutely perfect. I mean, everyone knows about NASCAR, so Rubbin's racing, right?
Yeah, it's a fast-growing sport.
That's all I know. That's what I know about NASCAR, and I know Dale Jr. So, anyways, you know, a lot of stuff we talked about today. Very interesting. It's a little bit of a slow time right now in the sports world, but we're getting into that transition now. March Madness is starting. Baseball is starting. NASCAR is starting. So be sure to keep tuned all semester right here on WMCM as we keep you updated on all that's happening in the sports world. For Ben and John, I am Nick. Thanks for tuning in to Sports Talk Live.